And joining us now, she will be inducted into the UCF Athletics Hall of Fame Friday night, September 23rd. She's the all-time strikeout queen at UCF, CUSA Pitcher of the Year, Freshman of the Year, was one of the greats in UCF softball history. Speak of Mackenzie Audas. Mac, how does it feel to be called now a Hall of Famer after next weekend?
It's pretty cool. It's surreal. I don't think it's going to hit me until I get there and everyone's wearing, I'm assuming everyone's going to wear their fancy clothes and the dinner and everything. I definitely wasn't expecting it, and nor this soon at all. And it's really cool to be a part of it, because I'm pretty sure that Stephanie Best and Allie Kine both got inducted while I was at UCF.
Stephanie did in your senior year. Allison was 4 years after that. And then Natalie Land, your former teammate, got inducted last year.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
Yeah. So it's just really cool and like I said, surreal, because I've seen greats who, like, I don't think of myself that way, but I've seen them and followed their careers, obviously, especially while I was at UCF. And to now be a part of that, it's a big honor, because all of those ladies did a lot for the game, not just at UCF, but in general. And they're great people too. So it's really cool to be a part of that group, softball wise. And then, of course, to be inducted with some of the people that I get to be inducted with this year, it's
going to be pretty good. Well, keep your expectations low when it comes to the fancy clothes. When it comes to me, all right. That's the deal. You better not have a high bar, because you're gonna be disappointed. All right. I'm only used to broadcasting clothes, not fancy clothes. But I want to ask you first. Take me through when you first found out you were getting inducted in this class. You're going to be inducted with Latavius Murray, who's now with the New Orleans Saints once again in the NFL. So you get to say you're with an active NFL player. Joe Burnett is a great defensive back. Christina Sarf, the great rower, and then Linda Gooch, who is still the head coach over at UCF from a cheerleading standpoint. Give me kind of what went through your mind the first time you found out.
I mean, like I said, I couldn't believe it. I was shocked, because it's an honor regardless of who you are inducted in with. But that's a pretty cool group of people. So it was surprising, but of course not a surprise that I was mad about. So
you graduated in 2015, and for the UCF Hall of Fame, you have to have 7 years past your UCF career in order to be inducted. That's this year. So for the first year of you being eligible on the ballot, you've been inducted. So I guess, what are your thoughts on essentially being a first ballot Hall of Famer?
I mean, it's really an honor. I feel like I just wasn't expecting it. It's one of those things, like I keep saying, it's surreal. So I don't really have any other answers other than it's really cool, really surreal. I feel honored. I don't think that I did a bad job when I was there at UCF, but I didn't think that I deserved this level of credit, but I'm going to take it and gladly and proudly. It's a really cool, I guess, kind of like final way to wrap up. Not really wrap up, because you're always a knight, but wrap up, I guess, my career as a softballer and a proud alumni.
Well, I think you more than deserved it. You still hold the record for career strikeouts, no hitters with 5. You're third in wins all time. I mean, by the time you had a ton of records you set. So I think you're being a little modest. But let me ask you about what got you interested in playing softball growing up.
Yeah, it was actually my across the street, my neighbor, his granddaughter played softball, and she was in high school when I was like 8 or 9. So around the time that you start, playing usually and pitching, and she was a pitcher. And his name was Joe Hood, and he was pretty well known in like the men's fast pitch and the fast pitch in the Plant City area where I grew up. And I saw her pitching in the yard, like in their front yard, and I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. Especially because I have an older brother and he played baseball. So then all of a sudden I see this girl who was a high schooler who, threw hard, and she was doing something that was just for girls, that I kept saying, my son, or not my son, my brother, and he was playing baseball. So it just kind of all clicked, and I really wanted to try it. And I asked my parents if I could try it, and the rest is history, so to speak. I never really tried any other sports after that. I really fell in love with it and fell in love with pitching. I knew that was the position that I really wanted to work hard at.
Why pitcher?
Part of it was because I wanted the ball, like every girl. And then I feel like when you're a kid, there's the glamour of like the pitcher, and I fell into that trap too. But then when I really started actually pitching, I liked it. I loved the challenge of it. I was kind of dorky with the fact of like, I loved how you had to really work out the mechanics of things. And that's more so as I got older too. But that's one of the reasons why I love, other than the teaching aspect and making relationships with kids, that's why I love being a pitching coach now, is because I love figuring out how things work in that regard, and how the body does all this incredible stuff to make a pitch the pitch that it is, and how girls can throw 70 miles an hour, by doing the motion that we do. So like I said, it's just kind of the dorkiness that came out of me with that.
So tell me, how did UCF enter the picture? What was the first time you heard of UCF? Did you follow, and how, I know they became interested in you, but just take us through that process, how you became interested in UCF, and if you followed them playing there. Because I want to say I first met you when you came on a visit. You were at a game, and I think you were hanging out with Allison at the time, and they like brought you into the booth for like, hey, can you wait here for a minute? Or something from what your deal. So just taking through the whole process.
So Joe Hood, who was across the street, was my first pitching coach. And then when he felt like he took me, I guess, as far as he could, he gave me the name of Casey. It was Clark at the time, and now it's Zerby. And she became my pitching coach, and she knew Renee because she happened to be Allie Kimes' pitching coach. So I was in very good hands with Casey, and she thought that I was similar to Allie Kime. And once I looked up Allie Kime and knew more about her, I thought that was like the biggest compliment in the world. And then she thought UCF might be a good fit. So she was really the main reason why UCF got on my radar, because I wasn't really sure where I wanted to go. I was actually kind of in the boat of maybe I want to go out of state and get away from my parents. But once I visited UCF and met the coaches, Best was actually one of the ones who recruited me. She was a assistant coach there at the time. And I just fell in love with it all. I loved the program. I loved how it was kind of a newer program. So I had the chance to be a part of teams that really helped build the program. I thought that was a cool aspect too, instead of going to a school that's, more established in that regard. So all those things combined just felt like it was a good fit. And luckily enough, Coach Renee thought I was a good fit too, and believed in me enough to give me a scholarship for me to go there. So
on the newness of the program, I actually spoke with Best during last season. And one thing that really stood out to me was a story that she told me about how back when she was being recruited by Coach Gillespie, they stood up on top of the venue, which was the UCF basketball gym at the time. And they looked out at where the old softball field was going to be and be like, and just, can you visualize yourself playing here? I think it really speaks to the vision of what Gillespie had there. So I want to ask, you joined the program in the 10-year anniversary of the program.
Yeah.
And so I want to ask what your thoughts were on where the program was then, and then how do you think maybe you changed it before you left?
I think it was, like Best, Allie Kime, player, and the players that surrounded them. They definitely put UCF on the map as a new program. And then I think when I came in, people knew about UCF, especially because, like, for example, I know Allie, against Florida, she made her mark against them. But we were the underdogs. And I feel like by the time that I left, we were a little bit less of like oh, this is a surprise that UCF beat a team that is a good team, and more of okay, like, we're playing UCF, like they're going to give us a run for our money type of a thing. Like, it's not going to be a surprise if we get the W. Whereas I feel like, before I came, it was a little bit more of that, because our name was still not synonymous with a program that was as strong consistently. And then now that's one of the reasons why, I think we have such a strong alumni presence too, is that each of us so far has seen the program get better and better and get more on the map. I mean, it was huge I know especially my class and the girls who played with me my senior year, that regionals was hosted at UCF this year, because of, our names weren't on the map as much, and there were some things that happened in postseason where we didn't we didn't get to host. And so
we'll get into that. We'll get into that a little bit. I want to ask you, you mentioned you walked in because you were part of the freshman class that had obviously Kaylee Novak, Maddie Schroeder,
Yeah.
Ferris Sullivan in 2012. What was interesting though, the year prior, UCF had a tough year. It was a massive rebuild year, long year. And I'll never forget, I've told you this story before, but I remember I'm in the Greenville airport waiting out a weather to calm down so we could fly back with Coach Gillespie. They just got eliminated in this USA tournament. I asked her, like, basically off record, like, is this going to get fixed? Like, how do we fix this? How is it? Are we going to get better? Because I'm thinking in my head, I don't know if I want to go through another season like that year, which was a long year. And she's like, oh, we got this freshman pitcher, Mackenzie Audas. She's going to fix everything. Okay. So then fast forward to the fall, your fall ball, you're pitching every fall ball game because there were some injuries and stuff. And I spoke to Natalie Land, who's the captain of the team. And I asked her, hey, we're going to be all right. He's just, oh yeah, she was excited and all that. I'm like, why? She's like, and she points to you right there. So, so right there was like some expectations, like for a freshman, which is very rare. But just talk about you and that freshman class, because you did change the direction of that program for the success. But right away in 2012, you turned it around. You won 39 games, got back to the NCAA tournament, and you had a monster freshman year, winning the Pitcher of the Year, being the first UCF pitcher ever to win a Conference Pitcher of the Year award.
I mean, I think my freshman year, I didn't go in with any expectations other than, like, I was happy to be there and I wanted to play. And hold on, sorry, I'll take that toy away. I was happy to be there and I wanted to play. I was going to do everything I could to play. And I knew that I had a team around me who believed in me. I mean, Natalie was an amazing leader, and one of the ways that she led is she let everyone know that, like, you were a part of the team and she believed in you. And so having that around you as a freshman, it takes a lot of that pressure off of you, I guess, to where, you have teammates who are there with you and to pick you up too, because it's definitely a different stage than high school and travel ball. So there was obviously some growing pains, but I think that spoke a lot to the type of players I had around me my freshman year too, and the freshman class. I mean, Kaylee Novak reminds me of Natalie Land in the way that she led. So she's another example of that too. Sorry, I gotta pick up my baby first.
Well, and you had also Ferris Sullivan at third base. Oh, we got guests interrupting the interview here, which is a good segue here, because obviously I want to ask you. We're going to ask you about the Florida game that year, your freshman year. We've talked about this story before, but for those that doesn't know the story, you pitched a shutout against Florida. That was your breakout game, where it was a packed house, beat the Gators. It had been 4 years since UCF beat Florida. The game was on regionally, the whole state, on at the time Bright House Network Sports Network. Now it's known as Spectrum. But that turned out to be not only one of your biggest games of your career on the field, but it was big off the field, as we would find out later. Explain for those that don't know what I'm talking about.
Well, yeah, because of that game, I have these children, because that's how I met my husband. I had a friend on the team, Alex Hartshorn, who was friends with my husband, and she was telling everyone, hey, we're going to be on the TV, watch the game. And my husband and his teammates, he played baseball at University of Tampa, turned on the game to watch some softball, and he liked what he saw with me on the mound, and so asked if I was single. And I happened to be single, and the rest is history. Clearly it was a successful first date that led into obviously more. So it was a good, like you said, a good game for me all around. Very memorable.
Yeah, I would say so. To meet Preston there, Bryson. In case you didn't know, Preston was watching the game. Where was he? In Tampa at the time. He was watching the game as you're shutting out Florida, and next thing you know, he talks to Alex Hartshorn. You get to meet him, and I'll never forget where I met him. I was leaving a Saints Bucks NFL game, I think. And he's like, we're parking outside the stadium, and he yells, "Hey, do you call softball UCF?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Like, "Oh, I'm with Mackenzie Audas." Okay, cool. So at that point, I knew something was going on, and there's history. But have you thought about that? Like that game, like if that game goes a different direction, you maybe don't meet him. Like, that's kind of wild.
That is wild. Yeah, if I hadn't started that game, who knows if I would have met my husband. And it is crazy. I think faith is a very important part of my life, and I think that was very much a God thing. So, and I'm very pleased with the results of that game all around. I'm glad we got the W.
Yeah,
and I'm glad I met my husband.
It's the one time I'm glad that nobody tuned into my broadcast. They tuned into the television broadcast. That probably paid off. That probably paid off a little bit. That's pretty wild story. I still can't believe I'll get over that story. But obviously, you mentioned the players: Kaylee Novak, Ferris Sullivan, Maddie Schroeder. What do they mean to you? Because you're one of the greatest classes to ever come to UCF softball. With the success, you would go on to 3 NCAA tournaments, 2 conference championships. And regional finals, and really you were the cornerstone of that group.
I mean, it was a great class, not just because of the performance on the field, but we were friends off the field. I mean, I still keep in touch with everyone. Maddie, it was she played outfield, and she was my roommate all 4 years, and she was a bridesmaid in my wedding. And we still talk, even though she lives in Hawaii. And Farah happened to marry a very, very close family friend of my husband's. So wild again that someone he grew up with and is still friends with.
Oh, that's right.
You talk about how close you were with your teammates from your freshman class, but you end up growing close with a bunch of other teammates later on in your career. Case in point, Shelby Turner, who was right up there alongside you with one of the better pitchers in UCF softball history. Talk about your relationship with her, and then other players that you met later on in your career that really grew close to you along the way.
Yeah. I mean, Shelby, it was it was easy to get close to her. I mean, we spent all the time together in the bullpen anyways, and all the pitchers. We had another Mackenzie on our team, Mackenzie Hune. And then, Jamie Uvari, and there was, it was a really awesome group because we all cared about each other. And I can't speak for other programs, of course, but I feel like we had something special to where each pitcher looked out for each other. And we were each other's friends, pitching coaches, et cetera, in the bullpen to help each other get stronger. Also, because we knew that it was just going to help us as a team getting stronger. And I still keep in touch with Shelby today. I got to see her for the first time at the regional games at UCF.
That's right.
I think like 3 years, and that was really special for both of us because we've kept in touch, but we haven't gotten to see each other. And then like Kaylin Sinal, who she was in Shelby's class. She happened to be my catcher. My last 3 years at UCF, I still keep in touch with her too. So it's just, it created a lot of different relationships that it's cool that I got to keep in touch with, and it was really cool to see how everyone still cares too. Like when everyone found out that I got inducted in the Hall of Fame this year, they all reached out to me, and that was a really cool feeling to know that my teammates still care. I still consider them my teammates. It's hard not to think of them as teammates, even 7 years later now.
That's true. 7 years. I didn't realize you and Shelby hadn't seen each other in 3 years or so. That's wild. Yeah. I did not know that because obviously you two I saw you two were showcased a lot at that Saturday game on television. I don't know if you were both aware of that, but you popped up on those. Oh yeah, there's screens. There's screens of you two yelling and screaming. And I thought that was fitting in a lot of ways because you two led the UCF team in 2015 to 50 wins. Should have been ranked, hosted, didn't get to host. We've got to go over that. And here you are 7 years later together watching the 2022 UCF team hosting for the first time, winning a regional. What was that like for you and Shelby, I'm sure, and the rest? Because Jessica Uvari was there. What was it like to watch that team break through and in a lot of ways do it for the team in 2015? Because they mentioned the 2015 team as they were playing for you.
Yeah, I mean, it was really special. It was cool to be able to experience that with girls who I played with, and to see the new generation of UCF do what we weren't able to do for multiple reasons. And it was just really exciting. I mean, it was something that I wasn't able to be there on Sunday, but I definitely would have been a part of that celebration just as big as they were if I had been there. But it was really cool to see, because that's what you want from, at least as an alumni, that's how I feel, is I want like my records to be broken, because that just means that our program is getting better and better. So I'm really excited to see where Coach Bear and the rest of the team, what they do this year and beyond too.
You talk about how seeing the team do what your team in your time was not able to do. How cathartic was it for you to not only witness UCF get a big win against Michigan when you were there live, but then watching to see them on Sunday take that regional?
Yeah, I mean, it was really cool. It was huge. It was like a proud moment, almost like a proud parent, because now that I'm old, it's cool to see them succeed in ways that I wasn't able to, and that's what I think is going to help UCF continue to grow, because the alumni is just going to keep wanting to build UCF and help get them better and better, whether it's just through cheering or whether it's through like alumni like me coaching. Like, I keep looking at my pitchers who are younger, who I'm developing, and I'm like, okay, maybe I can get her to go to UCF one day if she continues to throw the way she is, because I want UCF to bring home the World Series. that's what they all want. I mean, if they made it to Oklahoma last year, I would have been happy, but I also would have been sad because I wasn't able to go last year. Because I want to, I'm proud of them and I want to join in on their success in that way and support them in that way. So yeah.
Well, you joined them on that Saturday regional, the 11 innings against Michigan. What was it like sitting with Shelby, watching that game in hot conditions there, and how were you able to keep up with Shelby's vocal cords?
Oh man, I mean, I wasn't. I'm not nearly as loud. I think I lost my voice because I'm not a loud person. As if anyone knows me, they know I'm not loud or a yeller. But I did get loud that game, which I think goes to show how excited I was.
You're fired up. Like I was getting photos about it. People are like, it was pretty wild.
But yeah, it was. I mean, it was a cool experience. I'm really, really glad that I was able to go, and I hope to go again this year, and that they get to host again.
Wow. Well, yeah, Coach Bear, I want to ask you about Coach Bear because you got to meet her. I remember last year she talked at length about that Washington UCF game you pitched out in California when she was the assistant at Washington, and how you made life miserable for them. And then you got to meet her, I believe, in person in Tampa after one of the South Florida wins, where you got to speak with the team. What was your impression on Coach Bear as you've gotten to know her? And what was it like to speak to the team when you were in Tampa?
I mean, I really enjoyed meeting Coach Bear and all the other girls, but it was fun to meet her. I love Coach Renee, but she is a different, coach than Renee, and I think that she's going to bring her own set of skills to the program, and I can tell that the girls really like playing behind her, which I think is important to, success of the program. And I'm excited for what she's going to do. She seems like a really awesome coach, and I don't remember her from when I played at Washington because she was on the sidelines and not a player, but it's cool that we have that little connection.
Well, she definitely remembered. She broke it down pitch by pitch.
Yeah, we had a good laugh about that, so it was fun to meet her in person and get to reminisce on that game and talk about the future of UCF, and then just seeing the girls on the field, one made me feel old. It made me realize how far removed I was from college softball, but it was really cool to just see them and get them. Sorry, my dog, and just to encourage them and let them know to take advantage of every moment, because one day you're going to be where I'm at and cheering on and being an alumni, which is still really cool, but it really does go by so much faster. I know that's such a cliche, but when you're on the opposite side of it, you realize how true that cliche is. So
this is true. She's got a young pitching staff this year. As somebody who was successful as a freshman, what advice would you give a young pitcher that's getting into college?
I would say study the mental side of the game. Really, learning how to read hitters. That's where I tried to grow the strongest after. Obviously, mechanics don't lose sight of that, but the mental side of the game, because it's faster paced, it's tougher. So you got to build up the mental strength. And I think some people forget to do that. And that's so important as a collegiate pitcher, whether you're, a first year, a freshman, or a senior. And just, yeah, I would say mental side of the game, and then learn what kind of leader your team needs would be the other thing. Do they need a quiet leader? Do they need a more vocal leader? And you don't have to try and change who you are, but I think that it's important to find your strengths as a leader, but also learn what kind of leader your team needs, and feed into that as well, because then your team's going to give you back tenfold behind you. And that's just going to make you feel more comfortable on the mound.
you ended up exiting UCF with quite the number of accolades. At the time, you were the career leader in victory, strikeouts, appearances, no hitters, as Eric mentioned earlier. You still lead UC record books in strikeouts from what I'm seeing. So can you just tell me, what was it about you as a pitcher that got you to where you were? You talk about the advice that you give players going into college, but what about you specifically do you think helped get you to the position that you find yourself in now?
I mean, I definitely don't think it was, I think it was a lot of good coaching too. I mean, Casey Zerby, she taught me the mental side of the game, and physical as well. But I think the mental side of the game was really what she taught me really well, how to read hitters, how to respond to situations. And I think that's why, as a freshman, for example, coming in, I was able to be the, sorry, I was able to be the type of pitcher who was able to respond to those intense situations. So I think that's my strong mental game. I would say is what helped me. And then I don't think it's a secret that changeup was my best pitch, and I tried to continue to keep it where it was at, if not better, because I knew that as you see girls 4 years in a row, they're gonna start knowing your stuff. So changeup's important.
Well, tell the audience what you're doing now, because you're giving lessons now. That's part of your work now. Tell the people about what you're doing now, and doing pitching lessons.
Yeah, so I'm able to do private pitching lessons, and I love it. And I'm almost fully booked, so I definitely can't complain. I'm really excited to be doing that because I love teaching. I got my major in education, so it's cool to be able to take that over into the softball aspect and pitching side. And I'm hoping to keep doing it for a long time.
Where can they go to find more information?
I used to have a website, but now it'd be Instagram. So I would say Instagram. My business is Pitching with Purpose, so it would be at Pitching with Purpose on Instagram. That would be my handle.
There you go. See, you got to get the word out. Promoting. Got to be the promoter. Got to be the big promoter there.
I just wanted to ask, is there anything that you would like to say to Knight Nation ahead of your induction into a pantheon of some of UCF's greats?
Thank you for letting me be a Knight and supporting my career. And I am so excited to have this, like I said, this final accolade that I feel like it's a huge honor and rounds out my career better than I could have even imagined. So go Knights, keep watching UCF softball, keep supporting UCF softball.